nakikita na naman, di ba, init ng init sila. Sinabi kasi namin, mag-swimming pool siya, pagpunta dito. O kanina, hindi yun. Sabi ko, i-plug mo namin yung lababo. Masyado kasi siyang steadfast at persevering. Talagang gusto niya na pumunta siya at mag-swimming. Actually, isang araw pa namin sinasabi sa kanya, mag-swimming siya ng Saturday. Kaso hanggang ngayon, wala natin siya swimming. So hopefully, maging steadfast pa rin siya at persevering. At sigurado naman ako kasi araw-araw yan, naisip ko siya. Ayaw naghahanap siya ng beach, naghahanap siya ng swimming pool. So sabi ko nga, ready na ako sa doktor. Ito na yun. Siya na yun, di ba? Very steadfast and very persevering. Kasi gusto mo siya talaga na pumunta sa tubig. O mukhang ngayon na siya naghahanap ng tubig. Okay, sige. So let's start with a few terms. Right? Because sabi ito, stand firm, let nothing move you. Steadfast and perseverance. Steadfast and persevering. So when we say steadfast and persevering, what comes to your mind? Yung mga adjectives. Faithful. Consistent, eh? Committed, yun. Marami tayong naiisip na positive. Tatlo. Marami na yun. Marami tayong naiisip na very positive about being steadfast and being unwavering. So I think, siguro, sa pagmumuni-muni mo kami, lumabas yung mga terms na to. Hopefully, relentless, enduring, unwavering, unchanging, persistent, resolute, constant. Hindi lumabas yung yung committed, yung faithful. But, yung titusin, dyan siya, somewhere. Pero mga kapatid, naisip niyo ba na when we say steadfast and persevering, we cannot say steadfast and persevering without the following words. True? True? Kasi, when we say steadfast, it's being unwavering and being persevering is going through or struggling through. It means that there's always struggle, there's a problem, or there's a difficulty that we're trying to overcome. Yun yung magiging steadfast and persevering. So, we need to accept, first and foremost, na yung talk na to ay magiging mahirap. Kasi syempre, di ba, pag-uusapan natin is how to overcome trials, difficulty, and suffering. Right? So, as much as I want to, di ba, gusto ko sana kayo i-motivate at sabihin na everything will be always positive. But then again, di ba, in the world we live today, we need to recognize that the world we live in is a difficult world. Right? And as Christians, we are called to follow Christ. And the call to follow Christ is not an easy path. Right? So, disclaimer, hindi po ito magiging madali. I'm not sure, di ba? Sa service natin. Paramdam na ko, difficult. Nang try, nang suffering talaga. Parang tulog mo, no? Joyfulness. Joyful suffering. Joyful suffering. Okay, so, I'm sure all of us in this room, when we chose to follow Christ, we've at some point experienced yung suffering. We've experienced yung difficulty and the trial. And somehow we've prayed for the perseverance of God to come over us. But going deeper, we ask God for that grace to persevere. Right? So, the qualities of steadfastness, the qualities of perseverance come from our Lord. Ano yung naisip niyo na verse kapag naririnig niyo yung steadfast? Sounds like, sino kakanta dyan? Alam ko may kinakanta. Sige, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, the Lord's steadfast love. If you try to look at Lamentations 3:20, Lamentations pa talaga, no? Parang, suffering na pinag-uusapan. Lamentations pa. But what this verse says, brothers and sisters, check your Bibles. It says, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies are renewed every day. They are new every morning. New every morning. Hanggang 22 lang yun. So, His mercies are new every day. Hindi ko nakakantay. But if we try to look at that, the steadfastness of the Lord never ceases. And that type of steadfastness and perseverance is what we need to attain, is what we want to try to develop, the steadfast love of the Lord. And so, as we continue, right, it says, they're new every morning. Now, kung mapapansin niyo yung plant, kanina yung picture natin. Yun. Forest plant. The forest eventually starts with a single plant. Now, a single plant will have to go through being perseverant, being steadfast, overcoming yung trials, yung difficulty and suffering, to eventually grow into a tree. And so I'd like you to picture that, yung life ng isang seed, as it grows up, becomes a tree, as it weathers the different conditions, and raises its arms when it's tall. So keep that picture in mind, and think about the steadfast love through the seasons, through the trials, even through hope. So yung trees, they would stay there despite the season. Diba? Kahit na malamig, magulan, kahit na tutumba na sila, but they will still try to persevere. And if you try to look at a big tree and the small seedling, ano yung nasa in between it? So, time. Years and years and years and years. If you put it to somebody, like for example, tayo, in service, we start off as, sabihin natin siblings, and eventually we mature into trees. Right? In our service, sige, magsabi tayo ng service, music ministry. Sino nag-start sa music ministry dito? Maliban sa ako. Ako, nag-start ako sa music ministry. So, na-recruit ako sa music ministry, starting sa Lingkod. So, nung CLS, sinabihan ako mag-gitara. And sabi ko kasi, marunong ako mag-gitara. Although, ang alam ko lang talaga is tumugtog ng isang chord at a time. So, hindi ko sinabi na kaya kong tumugtog ng buong kanta. But anyway, so, sige, start ako ng music ministry. And then, parang every time, isang song. Tapos biglang prayer meeting. Parang, kaya na ba kaagad yung prayer meeting? Hindi, di ba? So, I went through it with challenges, with difficulty, and with trials and suffering. And as many feedback as I want to do. Okay, so sinabihan ako na dapat ganito gitara, dapat sumabay dun sa signal, and so on and so forth. So, ang daming feedback, di ba? And so, that process allowed me to go through that trial, diba? And try again. And eventually, try again. You'll practice sa bahay, or practice dun sa music ministry group. And then eventually, sa prayer meeting, okay na. Pero mga kapatid, that took several years. Diba? Hindi siya madali. And so, perseverance, if you put it on a specific gift, when it blossoms, it is able to glorify God. When you put perseverance on a small gift or a small talent, when it blooms, it is able to glorify God. So, St. Catherine of Genesis, for I consider that without perseverance, no one can please God or receive the crown of reward. He who perseveres is always strong, and fortitude makes him persevere. So we need to remember that in our lives are finite. Our lives has a specific ending. Right? And if we do not use our gifts properly, we will not be able to glorify our God. If we will not use our gifts and persevere through our gifts, we will not be able to eventually reach a state where we can praise and glorify God. So remember, we were given talents. Remember yung parable of the talents. Diba? Sino yung binigyan ng more talents? Kapag-invest. So yung mga nag-invest dyan, yun yung gagamitin nyo. Gamitin nyo yung parable. Yung mga nag-invest ng insurance, pwede gamitin yung parable of the talents. Anyway, going back to that. The person who invested so much on this talent eventually was able to bring back more to this master. In the same way, when we persevere with our gifts, we multiply our gifts. And so we're able to please the Lord with that multiplication. Now, if we try to think further, brothers and sisters, eventually we would reach a state where, sabi ko nga dito, we would reach a finite end. So, kanina puno, diba? Sikling, tapos naging puno na sa ice, ngayon, putol na siya. And we need to acknowledge that our suffering or trials would eventually lead somewhere. A while ago I mentioned, it leads to glorification of God. But before we go there, or even go deeper dun sa part tayo, kasi medyo ano na siya, mahirap na siyang tundan at this point. Let's try to go back to some of the more basic things in terms of perseverance and in terms of being steadfast. So in Romans chapter 5, verse 1 to 5, it says, "Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand. May we boast in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us." So in this verse, brothers and sisters, I highlighted suffering, perseverance, produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. If you try to think about yung sinabi ko kanina, diba? Sufferings, or there's no perseverance without suffering. Agree? Agree tayo. But can there be character without perseverance? Possibly. But was it created through the right means? Yun yung question. Diba? So there could be character, but character not according to how the Lord would want to. And so we persevere to create character, to create yung qualities that the Lord would want us to have. Now in other books, yung perseverance dito is experience. It's proof. So, going back, suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces proof. Proof of what? It creates proof that there is more than the suffering. That there is more than the pains in this world. That there is hope. That there is the gift of salvation through God. And so whenever you endure, whenever you go through suffering, do not think of it as just today. Right? Don't think of the pain as this pain, I feel it today. But rather, look forward. Look forward to the hope of God's salvation for us. Yung problem, brothers and sisters, that I see today, right? especially with the young. Rinig nyo ba yung parang nagtikisis tapos ayaw niya? Kasi nga parang mahirap daw, tapos wala na siyang gustong gawin pagkatapos na. Di ba? Parang sayang. Parang yung pag-aaral na yun, ang dami pang pwedeng gawin after that. Or, kunyari, nagkaroon ng or kasi break. Tapos ayaw niya. Ayaw niya yung gumawa ng kahit na ano. Great brothers and sisters with relationship ko. Hindi yung basta kumain lang sa office pag sa trabaho. Okay. So you see what my point is, right? Sometimes in this world, there are individuals or there would be people who will not be able to take care of the suffering well, who will not be able to handle the pain, right? Because they're not oriented towards the end goal of suffering. Remember, yung end goal of suffering it's not suffering itself, but rather the experience of God's love, of God's gift of salvation. So when you suffer, kaya di ba yung mga verses, every time na sinasabing suffering, they combine it with joy. Because yung joy allows you to see yung hope. Here ba mga kapatid? Medyo mahirap ko bang i-create yung relationship between suffering and joy? Parang pag nagsasuffer ka, joyful ka pa rin. Actually, there's a difference. Happiness and joy. Ano yung difference? Okay, so temporary yung happiness. It's dictated by your circumstances or by your situation, whereas joy is dictated by when you believe it. Okay, so as Christians, You're joyful despite the suffering that we experience because we see Christ. Whereas yung pagans, they see suffering as something that they would avoid. In fact, G.K. Chesterton says, suffering or joy is the biggest secret of the Christian, and happiness is the biggest or publicity of the pagan. And so yung pagans, diba, they would be happy because they're feeding on comfort, they're feeding on pleasure. But we Christians, we're joyful despite suffering because we see Christ. We do not see the pain, we do not see yung pleasure, yung comfort, but rather we see Christ. And so for us Christians, we can suffer because we see Christ as well. We can relate to Christ. Gets ba mga kapatid? Yung fundamental concept ko, kailangan natin maintindihan yung concept. Okay, so a while ago, I mentioned something about comfort. In the world today, I'm sure yung mga iba na nanggaling sa malayo dito, yung sabi overnight dito sila. Pag-overnight sila dito, diba? So sinabi na mahaba pa yung biyahe, mapagod ko lang, maraming tanong, dyan. Yung na-encounter ng sa iyo. Meron pa ba? Wala na, uy. Hindi naman. I remember before, nung isa-start ko lang ako service, my mom would always tell me, ano ang ginagawa mo? Bakit? Gabi-gabi kang umuwi ng late, hindi naman gabi-gabi. Every Friday lang naman. Iba na yun. Gabi-gabi. So, every Friday, 8 na umuwi. Sabado, ang aga-aga mong gigising. Lalabas ka na naman. Tapos, at the end of Saturday, pagod ka. So, Sunday, magsisimba ka ulit. Tapos, may meeting ka na naman after that. So, bakit? Diba? Bakit ganun? And so, actually, yung world kasi, diba, dictates that yung power or yung greatness or yung joy is actually found in comfort with pleasure. Kaya nga, diba, yung mga those people, the people who are not oriented towards Christ would rather chase pleasure rather than pain. Because they only see the pleasure, they only see the value of the pleasure that they gain today. Similar with money. You spend your purchase, your effort on money, but eventually money gets away. Right? And so we need to realize that in this world, comfort and pleasure are actually rampant. And so, ang hirap mag-persevere for something that is directed to Christ because the world will tell us that it's comfort and pleasure that we should choose. And yesterday, brothers and sisters, was the feast of the chair of St. Peter. Sabi ko, ano yung chair of St. Peter? It's actually the institution of the papacy, yung seat of St. Peter. And so this is a story that it's about Peter and about Jesus. So let's read through. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He said all this quite openly, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." So we need, brothers and sisters, to be able to see through yung pain and suffering. We need to be able to, again, see Christ through yung pain and suffering. And in this case, si Peter na to. Peter was given the keys to the kingdom of heaven. He was made the rock to be built in which the church was built up. And so there was a lot of trust in Peter. Yet Peter would say this to Jesus. It was out of love, possibly out of love, that Peter said this. And yet, Jesus rebuked him. If you think about this, brothers and sisters, when you're doing something for the Lord, right, and people will stop you and say that you should not go through that suffering. Tell them, get behind me. Baka mamaya. But in your mind, right, you need to be able to discern. which is true suffering, and which is not suffering. Right? Kasi di ba may mga masokista. Masokista ba? Masokista. Gusto lang nila mag-suffer. So suffer for the sake of suffering itself. So natutuwa lang sila, nagsasuffer sila. Like I remember one time, by the way, some of this suffering and some of this righteous suffering can have an agenda in itself. So for example, I used to, nung medyo elementary, yung cleaning, sinong gumagawa ko? Hindi tayo elementary. Pero sinong nakagawa ko? At the end of the day, mag-release kayo. Yes, okay, yes, mabalik. Manita. So di ba, kailangan mo mag-release, kailangan mo. Parang at that time, siyempre, I think, para sa akin naman, medyo mabait naman ako. So, gagawin ko magawa lahat. Iniwan ng mga kasama ko. Then, yung mga kasama ko dati, mga klase ko, sabihin nila, huwag kang magpakamartir. Diba? And somehow, nagiging positive din sa akin. I think, uy, nakikita nila na, napapansin nila ako na nagsasuffer ako. But if you try to think about it, diba, mayroong something positive out of it. But that positive thing isn't necessarily what Christ wants. Right? So we need to have some reading wherein yung wisdom is paired with patience and with suffering. So when we suffer, we need to apply the right wisdom on it. And so, going back to yung example ko kanina, we could persevere but for the wrong things. And so we could, in my case, I persevered because of ego. And in fact, I would tell you later on that it's one of the things that I would regret later on, but also would be used by the Lord. Okay. So a while ago, I mentioned that there's perseverance on the wrong things. Right? These are chasing, or this is when we persist in things that are not ideal to the Lord. Or when we chase for money, when we chase for fame, when we chase for power. And there's also perseverance without the Lord. Just to share, brothers and sisters, sabi ninyo kanina, I used to do life coaching. Okay? And in my life coaching, I used to coach people who weren't necessarily Catholics or Christians. For that matter. And I would teach them to persevere in their worldly goals. And it's hard. Right? It's actually hard to tell somebody to persevere only for the goal itself, but not for the sake of Christ. The reason is, brothers and sisters, after they reach the goal, what do they feel? They would feel satisfied because they met the goal. But will they ever be filled? They will never be filled. They will never reach a state where they will be full because of Christ's grace, or the Lord's grace. And so, I just wanted to share this as part of this talk. Yeah. So have nothing to do with profane words and old life days. Train yourself in godliness, for while physical training is of some value, godliness is valuable in every way, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. So brothers and sisters, I wanted to share this because at some point in my service in Lingkod as a leader, I succumbed to reading self-help books. I try to read through yung mga how to get there, how to be successful, yung mga ganun. So maraming ganun actually. Maraming ganun na books. They're filled with good wisdom, brothers and sisters. But we need to always remember that we need to train towards godliness. We need to train towards the end goal, which is Christ. So even if I do read about how I should manage my thoughts, how I should manage my finances, I should always direct them towards God. Otherwise, as I mentioned earlier, you would only succumb to an empty state. Right? Experiencing that you've grown or you've developed yourself, but you'll eventually find yourself empty because you're longing for something else. And that longing is Christ. So, you go to this question of, so sino na dito, they give up on something. So, good number. In giving up on something, there's both a positive and negative aspect. Positive, probably because we're no longer spending our time and effort and energy of something. Positively, because we probably found something else. But negatively, because we did not achieve what we want to achieve. Right? And, brothers and sisters, I've tried a lot of things. Right? I tried sports. Hindi niya, try ako mag-basketball, wala talaga. So, kahit advance ng mga brothers, hindi talaga ako pwede dyan. But there's this story about the bamboo and the fern. There's the story about the bamboo and the fern. So, there's the bamboo and there's the fern. So there was this man who got tired of chasing mga worldly things. And so he went up the mountain and he talked to this herder. And sabi niya, I'm tired of chasing this worldly things. And I'm tired of trying my best in achieving the things that I want to do in this life. And so this hermit tells him the story of the fern and the bamboo. And so the hermit says, one day I planted a fern and I planted a bamboo. And every day for 4 years, I watered them. On the first year, the fern sprouted and it covered the field. And I continued to water the bamboo for the remaining 4 years. And eventually, during the 4th year, when it started to grow, it grew faster than the fern during its first year. And it even grew taller, far taller than the fern. And so after 4 years of taking care of it, you now have the bamboo raised up high, and you have the fern go down low. And so the man says, so what does this have to do with it? What does this have to do with you? What does this story have to do with you? So the hermit tells him that during the time the man was suffering, the man was actually growing his roots. He was growing his foundations. So that when one day, when his time comes, and he's able to rise up as high as the mountains. And so, brothers and sisters, in the time of difficulty, time of trial, the time that we'd like to give up, there's this aspect of, if we give up today, right, we may not necessarily gain what we want, but maybe we've gained something else. Maybe we've gained the character that we need to be able to succeed moving forward. In this case, right, yung difficulty, or yung time that it took for the bamboo to grow, that was the time when it was growing its foundations. And so, I remember yung isang line sa Star Wars, favorite line ko from Darth Vader. Because this is all about faith. Waiting, persevering for something, and not getting it, and trying again, it's all about faith. And Darth Vader says, I find your lack of faith disturbing. So brothers and sisters, I actually one time I made that kind of because I was going through a difficult time. I was going through a time where I felt that I wasn't going to succeed despite everything that I tried. Right? And I remembered that it was all about my faith. It was not about the difficulty I was going through, but rather it was about the faith that I had in my heart. Faith that I know that this is going to end up somewhere. So I may not have gotten the goal that I wanted, but I built the character that God needed me to. Saying that, remember that, or have you heard of in everything is grace? Yes. I'll say it again. So everything is grace, right? Even our trials, even the things that we experience that won't bring us closer to our goal, it's grace. Because it creates in us something. Again, it creates in us your character. It creates in us the proof that there is hope, that there is God. And so, I have another reading from the Bible. This is from 2 Corinthians chapter 12, 6 to 10. I'm sure you've heard of this, and I'm sure some of you have probably used it as a message somewhere. Okay, so I highlighted some important things. So I'll just read it. Even if I should choose to boast, I would not be a fool, because I would be speaking the truth. But I refrain, so no one will think more of me than is warranted of what I do or say. For because of this surpassingly great revelation. Therefore, in order to keep me from being conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan, to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So everything, brothers and sisters, even the pain, even the suffering, even things that we may ask the Lord to take away from us, it is used for His glory. Like remember, Christ during His agony in the garden, He asked that the cup of suffering be taken away from Him. And yet, He went through that suffering. The Lord did not take away that suffering from Him. He went through it, and eventually, He reached the glorified state for the Lord. So in this story, si Paul is actually telling that he was experiencing something that he wanted taken away. Natry ko naman. Meron kayong bagay na ayaw kayo. Pero parang ilang beses ito siya pinag-insaw. Pero hindi talaga siya mabait mo. Brothers and sisters, I think for me, just to share, I have a thorn in my head. Right? Just to use yung same terms of Paul. I have my ego. After pinanggit ninyo yung mga qualifications, won't you feel that at some point you have an ego having those accomplishments? Brothers and sisters, so many times, right? My ego has gone in front of my service. My ego has gone in front of me building my relationships with my brothers and sisters. Only because I thought I was better. I had an ego problem, brothers and sisters. I refused to work with other leaders because I did not feel that they will be able to help me. I would rather face things alone rather than go with my brothers and sisters to face things as a branch, as a community, as a group of brothers and sisters. I always felt that I had everything. I had all the gifts and that I could do anything. But then I realized that that was my weakness, brothers and sisters. My ego was pulling me down. My ego was preventing me from making good relationships with my brothers and sisters. And so I prayed the Lord several times. He hasn't taken it away. He hasn't taken it away. Brothers and sisters, I came here because I wanted to talk in front of you. Part ego? Yes. Part plan of the Lord? Yes. It's for God's glory. So even if you have a problem, even if you have a thorn, even if you have a suffering that you're going through, ask the Lord to take it away. But also look at the wisdom of why the Lord has given that to you. Because maybe He wants to use it for His power. Remember, His grace is sufficient for everyone, and that His power is made perfect, even in your weakness. So why do I mention brothers and sisters? The best way to take care, to persevere, is to work with your brothers and sisters. This is a picture of a forest. A while ago we were talking about single plants, single seeds. A single tree could easily be put down. I love it. Right? But a forest will take him years to maybe remove all of the trees. In the same way that, alam niyo yung walis tambo. Have you tried trying to break yung buong walis tambo? Sana hindi. Kasi mahirap siya i-break. Diba? And so when you stand together, when you stand firm, especially when brothers and sisters, when leaders, when servants stand together, they will be able to achieve anything, right, that the Lord would ask them. I remember yung story ng RLTC. Sabi ko nga, kwento namin ninyo. Parang, sige, bagyo na. Ang gagawin natin. tayo na. tayo lang nandito. But the RNTC last year was very successful because of the help of all of the brothers and sisters. And that is just a testament of how together we can persevere even better. We can persevere even more and achieve more for the Lord. For these faith brothers and sisters, do you notice how they're positioned? They're tall. They reach towards the sky. They're grounded firmly on the ground. But you see that their branches, their leaves, reach very high up in the sky. What they actually look like is that they actually look like trees, right, with arms stretched up high, facing the Lord. In fact, when a plant blossoms, right, when a plant has its first few leaves, it raises its first few leaves towards the sun, towards the sky. For the first time, right, that it experiences sunlight, it automatically raises its hands to the sky. And so us, as we grow taller, as we persevere through this life, we need to be able to raise up our hands and pray even more. Because the more we persevere, the closer we actually become to the Lord. And so I wanted to share this prayer, which I think is quite relevant to the talk. You know this song? Yeah. sa inyong ladies sa PM. Pero this song, brothers and sisters, I think is very reflective of how we should persevere. Right? That in persevering, let nothing trouble you, let nothing frighten you, for everything will pass away. Remember we earlier talked about how finite this life is. Remember that despite how finite our life is, that is nothing compared to how infinite the Lord is. The Lord is the God of all time. He's the God of all eternity. So what we experience today may not be anything that's even visible to Him. It is visible to Him because He knows our pain. But for Him, right, it's merely a small speck within His whole power. And so through patience, you will obtain everything. Whoever has God is lacking nothing, for only having God. I remember another quote, which I always share from Bruce Lee. Alam niyo ba yung quote niya from Bruce Lee? Okay? Hindi? Nagsisimula sa sabi niya, pray not for an easy life, but the strength to endure a difficult life. Pray not for an easy life, but the strength to endure a difficult life. I love I think Bruce Lee. But I think that's how we should frame our thought in terms of suffering. We allow the suffering to come, yes. We allow the difficulty to come, the trials, yes. But we ask the Lord for His grace for us to get through it. So brothers and sisters, a while ago we were talking about the trees. We went about talking about the plants, forests, the dead tree, the tree in winter, and so on and so forth. Let me ask you, brothers and sisters, what's the cross of Christ made of? Made of wood. That piece of wood came from a tree. That piece of wood went through the perseverance of growing up from a small bud to a big tree. And eventually, when the tree was cut down, it died. But it was used to carry the most glorified form of Christ on the cross. And so when we use our lives, when we persevere, when we kindle that spirit given in us, the gift given in us, when we persevere, remain steadfast with it, and we stand firm, eventually our lives would also carry Christ. Okay. Our goal is to be able to carry Christ, to be able to show the world the glorified form of Christ. Through our perseverance, other people may experience the glory of God and the hope of God's salvation. I'll close with this. This is from Pope Benedict 16. The previous book, Pope Benedict 16. The ways of the Lord are not easy, but we were not created for an easy life, but for great things, for goodness. Remember the world which would talk about our pleasure fame. That's not what we were called for. As Christians, we were called for great things, for goodness, to bear the cross. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. We have 15 minutes. So, pwede pa akong kumanta ulit. I'd like to flash dito sa screen yung mga verses that we used earlier. So, within the next 13 minutes, you could go back to them, read them, and try to reflect on these verses. Into my time frame to talk about it later at the beginning. Thank you, brothers and sisters.